Welcome to Business Over Beer, where entrepreneurs, small business owners, and people passionate about what they do bring us their stories and their favorite beer. Hosted by Ben Surratt, Jonathan Kaler, and Jason Knope, it's time to get down to business and drink some beer.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back to part 2 of this special 3-part episode of the second biggest podcast in the Pacific Northwest, Business Over Beer. I'm, of course, your co-host, Ben Surratt. Alongside me is the man of the hour, the terror of power. Some people call him the Space Cowboy. Some people call him Touchdown Jesus.
No.
But some people call him the Beast of Bodmin Moor.
Ooh.
But we call him Spartacus. Welcome back to part 2, Jonathan.
The Beast of Bodmin Moor. I love that movie,
Beast
man.
of Bodmin Moor.
That was a great movie. I really enjoyed that one. That was a fun
hanging
one.
out with the guys.
It really is a movie.
Is it?
Yeah, it really is a movie.
It sounds like the title of a movie. Now, is it based in fact? Like, is there a Beast of Bodmin Moor?
Yes, there is.
There is.
Yeah.
And what is the Beast of Bodmin Moor?
It's in Scotland, everybody, so look it up. There is a Discovery Channel movie based upon it. Bodmin Moor.
See what I did there? I actually got him to divulge some information. Normally he just tells me to go look it up.
Yep.
Look it up.
When he does part 2, a full introduction during part 2.
This is how you get them.
I get it.
Bodmin
I get it.
Moor.
Hey, and speaking of getting people, here's one guy I get. He's still the gangsta of Hazeldale. He's still the gift that keeps on giving. Welcome back, Jason Knope.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad you guys invited me tonight.
Well, yeah, of course, man. Yeah, you're the gift that keeps on giving. You never left.
I know. I try not. I'm like the cat that won't stay away. You know, right?
Yeah.
So
Meow.
You like the cat?
that's right.
You like the cat?
I figured you guys would like that
Yeah.
after last week. So anyway, we're just kind of hanging out with Joe Storm and Mark Tim, Columbia Credit Union, and we're gonna start doing some chatting with EcoDigital Media too. We got Kimberly Brecko, and we have Randy Short. Excuse me.
That's right.
How you guys doing tonight?
Doing good.
Hey, Randall. How are you?
I'm doing great.
I knew you are. Well,
That matches my driver's license, so that's what I go by when I'm flying.
So there you go. So you had it.
I know what's going
It's
on.
not as dumb as it looks.
No.
It couldn't be.
No.
Well, in all seriousness, thank you again for hosting us. This is great. We really appreciate you having us out and doing this. It's so much fun. We always like to start with your business. So this is your opportunity. Give us sort of the 50,000-foot view of EcoDigital Media and kind of what you guys are into.
Go ahead.
Thanks so much,
You're
Randy. So EcoDigital Media, we're a digital integration company. So we walk into businesses, do site assessments, take a look around and see where we might be able to improve communications for either employees, guests, or visitors in a space. So we also look at what kind of content you're going to be delivering, because we can't really fairly assess any hardware or software suggestions without knowing what the content's going to do. So we are a little bit different in that way from our competitors or other people who say they do digital signage, because we talk to you about the content first. And then we go through a process of the site assessment, present that, and then we get underway. We do everything from the infrastructure, ordering, alignment, installation, content creation, and content management. So we have long relationships with our clients. And that's our goal.
And is that content management and content creation specifically in like the digital signage space, or do you do all types of digital content? Like, do you do social media? Do you do other types of marketing content, or is it really specific in the signage space?
Yeah, that digital word is really tricky because digital could be printing too, right?
Yeah.
So it does get misinterpreted a lot of times, but we are strictly digital signage, which is monitors, not televisions.
Not static signage.
Not static signage.
We spent the first 10 years explaining what we did about, hey, can you print up some signs for us? And it's like, no, we do digital signage. So
moving pictures. No.
Dynamic. We had to come up with
yeah.
different words to, at the time it was still a new industry. So we had to, explain a lot. We found ourselves educating more than selling a lot of times. So
Well, we did start in 2008.
So you can't print 50 flyers for us for our event tomorrow?
No.
Oh, man, I thought we had the hook on too, man.
Always late.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, I am so excited to get more into your business. I know you've got a lot of stuff going on, and there's a lot of exciting things that you guys are working on. But this is the Business Over Beer podcast.
Yes.
This, once again, is the beer portion of the program, where we ask all of our guests to bring a beer to share. Now, you have a lot to live up to, because our previous guests, who are still here, they look very thirsty.
Yes.
So I'm hoping that you have brought a beer to share, have you?
We have.
Of course we did.
Awesome.
Yeah. We bought this really cool looking can. I guess, I've been
That's
driven by the label. So it's called Matchless Southbound and Down. So y'all might remember Southbound and Down, rolling up and trucking. Anybody sound familiar? Yeah.
We're gonna do this. It can't be done.
Woo! Thank you, Jason.
That's Smokey and the Bandit?
Yeah.
That's right, Ben. So actually,
Love some Smokey and the Bandit references.
That's right. So I'm going to say that our friend Chris over at Top Union Freedom in downtown Vancouver hooked us up with this beer today, and I had told him what we were doing, and he chose this himself for me, and has provided this for us this evening. So I don't know much about it, other than Randy's going to read the description that's actually on the label on the back.
It looks like Matchless
Yep.
is the brewed and packaged.
Yep.
Okay, description.
It's a
Descriptors.
Vancouver brewer.
It says, I play real sports, not trying to be the best at exercising.
So that's the description on the can.
It's 7.2% alcohol by volume.
Awesome.
And this is a 16 fluid ounce can.
That's right.
That's a big boy.
And it says
For a tall boy? Yeah.
HBC 692. So I don't know if that. In
That's
the hops category.
Yeah, that's one of the varieties of hops.
Okay.
Oh.
Daniel
Yeah.
HBC 692 and Zeus.
Yeah. And I believe Chris Daniels, who's the owner of Tap House, he has a distributorship and is in partnership with these guys as well.
They're calling this a West Coast India Pale Ale.
Which is interesting, because the Black Raven that we had, that Mark brought for us.
Yes.
Shit, sorry. That Mark brought for
I've
us.
got two first names. It gets confusing.
Yeah.
Well, that's a Kaler pour.
That's going on the TikTok later. I'm gonna get a picture. I'm gonna get a picture, and make sure her face is in it, so that it wasn't Kaler who did the Kaler pour. But the Black Raven Trickster IPA was very much a West Coast style IPA, so it'd be interesting to taste these two side by side.
Right. Pilsner malt.
Jeez.
Pilsner malt.
Yeah, that smells good.
I think I overcompensated.
This is
What is that for?
Prost.
Prost.
Thank you all.
Randy's drinking a fine root beer over here too. That's also locally made.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So why is that, Randy?
Yeah.
So tell us why you're on a little drinking hiatus.
That's right. Yeah. This is a boiling root beer. And pure cane sugar.
There you go.
It sounds good.
And 170 calories. That's what I'm going. But it's delicious.
And you're on a hiatus for a month.
That's right. I have till the end of the month, and then I'm back on it.
It's cool.
Well, I was on your website earlier, and on your bio, it does say enjoying the occasional craft brews.
That's
so,
right.
You may want to update the bio based on your dietary.
Wow, you're a reader. Thank you.
I prefer researcher to reader. I don't read very well.
It's kind of an inside joke with us.
We don't do none of that reading. I don't like that.
I don't read so good.
Well, it's delicious.
Mark, what do you think?
I have not had this before. It's actually very smooth. To me, if I had this next to Trickster, it would make Trickster a little bitter because this is so smooth. I like it. For me, it's not quite a session, but you could have more than one. And for 7%,
That's scary.
Yeah. What do you think?
It's ridiculously smooth.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think the Black Raven, the Trickster is a little more true to the style because the West Coast IPA, you do kind of expect it to be more hop forward. This is a delicious beer. I love this beer. But I don't think it's quite as true to the West Coast IPA style. It's not what I was expecting. I was expecting that hot punch but it's freaking delicious.
It's very good.
Joe, what do you think?
I'm thinking if I was out on the boat in the summer, this would cause a lot of problems.
Right?
It'd go
the
down
sun
real
beat down.
smooth. Yeah. You might get on one of the inner tubes and just be floating away.
Because I bet as a non-IPA guy, I bet this is pretty palatable for you.
Yeah, it's really good. I mean, I'd love to have this in a big old cheeseburger, right? Okay, so.
Are these two like brothers?
I like this guy. It
We're
must be
going
the
out
hair,
like
right?
that.
It's got to be the hair.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's the hair?
It's the
Hair.
It's the head.
It's the head.
It's a choice.
That's right. Kind of.
Yeah. It's a lifestyle.
Lifestyle. I buy that.
I'm going to go by that from now on. That's just a lifestyle.
It's a lifestyle.
The man bun is a choice.
Yeah.
That's a lifestyle.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's why I'm the hat. I got the hat quick.
Wow.
I don't want to be the bald guy. I'm going to put a hat on.
Nobody ever knows.
Just keep wearing it.
Ah, delicious. Chris, I love Chris, by the way. We did a Thirsty Thursday there at Tap Union, Freedom House. Free House, in October or November. I think it was November.
October, November, yeah, in the fall.
Yeah. And Chris is a good guy. I like him a lot.
And that place, for as small as they are, a little like corner place, their beer selection is outrageous.
Yeah.
Like,
Unbelievable.
I was really surprised at how great their beer selection is. So they got beers of all kinds there.
Yeah, for sure.
It's a great place.
So, EcoDigital. What are one of you help a lot of businesses, obviously, but what's one of the main businesses that you see repeating in your business?
So we have about 50% of our businesses in hospitals and healthcare. So, and that's really where we started. And Randy had, in his background, he had a lot of experience also selling into that industry with previous experiences. So it was kind of a natural starting place for us.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'd worked in the printing industry for 15 years as a print management company. And so when we started the business, I had a lot of contacts in the marketing department. And it's kind of a natural, fit to go and talk to these people. They were currently using VCRs to do playback at a hospital that runs 24/7. So these VCRs would brick after, a year running 24/7. So we came in and said, hey, we have a media player device that can do your playback and you can remotely load the content. And they're like, wow.
And what year was that?
That was in 2009, 2008.
They were still using VCR playbacks in 2009?
Oh,
yeah.
Cow.
Well, Bed Bath & Beyond was too at that point. Yeah.
Maybe that,
So,
no,
yeah.
maybe that was CDs then. Yeah, maybe it wasn't.
DVDs?
DVDs. There you go.
Well,
You can edit that part.
I could guarantee you we ran across a VCR in more than one spot that we replaced.
Yeah.
I remember specifically in a basement at this one facility, and I will not say where it was, but there were 2 VCRs in the basement that were running some content, and they actually had Goodwill stickers on them.
I want a list of all those hospitals.
That wasn't a hospital.
I'm never going there for my health care. Forget it.
So you can see how this. So they would have to burn the DVDs, have a guy go out for the day and drive around to all the locations wherever these were playing and swap it out. So they didn't really update their content that much.
So here's the thing. So we do podcasts, obviously, right?
We do?
I think so.
Okay.
It's very difficult to try to convince somebody that what you're doing is going to help and improve, especially like things like that people don't really need,
or God forbid they're outdated.
And they're I mean, like the VCR people,
Mm-hmm.
trying to convince them that going digital had to be kind of tricky. So how did you overcome objections to what tended, I guess, was a new medium of getting information? How did you overcome those objections?
Well, I will say that, it's interesting because certain states or parts of the coast, like East versus West, were a little quicker to adopt. And I think that's typical of a lot of industries. So we have about 60% of our business on the East Coast. And we manage all of their content, remotely. We rarely have to ever go on site, but we have teams of people all across the country that service all of our locations as needed. But once you get something up and running, it's really very virtual contact. So, which is fantastic because we usually know there's an issue going on long before a client would ever know anything is going on. So, we monitor everything 24/7. I mean, we don't stay up all night, but we get alerts. And then that's all based on the communication with the client. So most of the time, everything gets remedied. It's usually a hiccup in the internet, which is not under our control. So objections, people do want the ROI. A lot of times people will bring that up, of course, which can be a very intangible thing, just like billboards were originally when people were early adopting billboards. Now they have, eye hits, and you can do all kinds of formulations around that. But there's also a very intangible side that you have to really consider about satisfaction. And you mentioned before about satisfaction surveys, right? And hospitals do a lot of satisfaction surveys, and they do them often. And so one of the things, we work with a communications director at one of our hospitals, and she had shared with us after she installed, we installed about a dozen screens or so for them, and they run a lot of employee content on there. And they show pictures, they show awards that are happening. I mean, they really highlight
shout outs.
Yeah, there are shout out awards. I mean, and people are charmed by seeing their images on the screen, and they feel a lot of pride by working there. And so, but it's just that feel good thing. And she told us this after, she said, we just had another round of surveys, and she goes, our employee satisfaction points have gone up in certain areas. And she goes, I know it's directly related to that. I can't prove it. But she said, I know it because I see them and how they react when they see their faces on the screen, and just the acknowledgments that their friends also find out, oh, it was, so-and-so's anniversary, or they got a shout out award, or this or that. And so they'll go up and say something to their friend or their coworker. And so it really creates that kind of community employee atmosphere, as, you guys were talking about at CCU. And you really feel that even when you're walking around the halls, and they're miles long at this particular hospital. And we have walked those corridors a lot, but you just feel it when you walk by them. It's a different feeling. So I very much appreciated her feedback around, this is an intangible, but she goes, I would never go back, there's just no way she can stop. And I will say her content, because we do manage their content, increased by about 25% last year. And we track all the numbers every year. We get all the segments of the content. And so what I thought was fantastic is not only did they keep communicating to whoever was there, even though, there was a cease of people being able to enter the hospital as visitors, she continued to just drive that content even more. And I thought that was really cool because, that just showed her commitment to making sure that people felt like they were appreciated in that space and time.
And when we first started doing this, back to your original question, we found that if there wasn't somebody that championed the integration of a digital signage system, it really didn't get too far. cold calling or going in and saying, hey, we have this great thing, because there's so many stakeholders that have to approve it. It has to go through IT, everybody else has to buy in on it. So we've really found having a champion
inside the company
really moves things forward, because the sales cycle, it can be quite long or quite short, but typically
you just never know.
Yeah,
you just never know. And we've been very lucky. Most of our business comes through referrals, and I will say, and that's exactly how we've ended up in several hospitals. Is that like one employee there for a few years, and then they move on, and they just bring us along to their new hospital that they go to. That makes all the difference in the world. It cuts that sales cycle down by a lot. Plus, again, you've got that person inside that's saying, okay, time for us to elevate our conversation and communication here. So, and I've got the people to do it.
Very cool.
So, yeah.
That's so cool. So, Kimberly, you're a entrepreneur at heart. We've only known each other a couple of days, and certainly from a personality standpoint, it's like, oh yeah, she's an entrepreneur, no doubt. You just got that in your guts. But you shared with us that you've been an entrepreneur since you were in Redondo Beach, California. So, talk a little bit about what entrepreneurship means to you, and kind of, what is it that's in your guts? How did you get started into this as you've made this journey to this business?
Well, I will tell you, the first inkling that I had that I was an entrepreneur was I was 11, and I was meticulously cutting out little envelopes of plastic out of the baggies. There were no Ziplocs at that point, right? They were Glad bags. And I cut them out, and then I would tape them, and then I put a tablespoon of iced tea powder in there, because I thought single servings of iced tea would be really nice for my mom instead of pulling it out of the jar, right? And yeah, that was long before single servings were available. But we're not going to talk about when that was exactly. But I was 11, and I just thought there was something nice about that, doing that for my mom. I didn't sell them, of course, but I had them all lined up on a tray just to be used. So that's my earliest memory of thinking about something like that. And then at the age of 17, I did make little gift cards that I sold into a really kind of hoity-toity store in Redondo Beach. And I was using recycled cards, and I just would create really cool little cutout things on gift tags. And the lady at the store bought them from me, and I just thought that was pretty cool that she did that. I didn't make any money, but but it was just really neat to go through that process, and very humbling to just have the conversation with her, So my first business was born when I was 26, and I was leaving Nike at the time, and I was just ready.
That's a shoe company, Ben.
Actually, I call them an apparel company, really.
An apparel company,
yeah. But because I worked in apparel, so for me, they were an apparel company.
So that shoe and apparel company, Ben. You make a joke and somebody got to ruin it.
That's
Thanks for not coming up.
My fault.
Again.
I was just kind of ready to leave after having about 7 years there. And I was 26, and I had been running the trade show for the textile portion of footwear and apparel inside the company. And when I decided I was ready to go, I was going to start this trade show and facilitate all the other companies that were apparel and footwear that would come to see all these vendors as well. And the vendors came to see all of them too. It's just that Nike had a private day. So I created a proposal, and I went to my boss and I said, look, I'm either way I'm leaving. And I so appreciate everything, but I've got a proposal because I'd really love to do this portion of my job and just leave. So I slid a tablet across the table at her, and she opened it up and she said, "You're not asking for enough." And she closed it and she pushed it back across the table and she said, "Bring it back to me next week." And to this day, I was so petrified to have this conversation anyway. I was very inexperienced. I had no idea really what I was doing. I don't even know how I created the proposal. I'm sure my father helped me somewhat, but I don't know. There were not entrepreneurial groups around at that point. People were not starting a business over the weekend. There were not startups. There were not anything like that.
There was no gig economy.
No, exactly. Nobody was going to a coffee shop with their computer and, doing their online business in the afternoon. So I was grateful to her. And I did. I came back with another number. I'm sure I probably still could have asked for more, but I came back with another number, and then I said, thank you, and here's when we'll start, right? So Nike was my second customer, and then I left and pursued that business for about the next dozen years. I had a fantastic time doing that until I got really burnt out, because event planning and trade shows are very intense. But I loved that whole environment, until the very, very end. The bottom kind of dropped out of that, when the textile industry in the South really took a hit. And the business kind of shifted and everything was going overseas a lot more. So it was just kind of that nice time to kind of go, I think we're done with this one now. So we just put that to rest. So that was my first real venture.
That's incredible. And so how did you and Randy meet and then end up getting into this business together?
So we had dated previously to the business being started. I had worked for an ad agency doing business development, and there was one of our clients was a media player company called Bright Signs, and they had this new product, media player, playback. You can put these players out and put one up in Seattle and be able to talk with content. And I was like, why would anybody want to do that? It's like, didn't make any sense. And then 2008 came, and we had lost that account, and the company closed its doors. And so I had already sold in some of these players to a local hospital, and we had some contracts that were going to be signed, and the owner of the company said, hey, I don't care what you do, I'm done. So, I said, hey, Kimberly, start a business. And she was like, I don't really want to go into business with you. And I was like, and, I don't really have the entrepreneur background. I was used to getting a paycheck every 2 weeks,
But you were the one who wanted to start a business.
Yeah.
And you were the one who was, so what?
Kind of the he said, she said kind of. Yeah. Well, we all have our own
So-
version.
There's another side of that story that I have a feeling.
So, we signed some contracts with the local hospital, and hey, we started making some money, and, kind of took off, bootstrapped it from there, and,
In 2008.
in 2008. I mean, what else were we going to do? It's like, hey, so.
Yeah.
Well, I have that question because when I saw that you started the business in 2008, I thought it was really interesting because we've talked to a number of people who have started a business in the last year during a pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, our question is always, what are you, crazy? Why in the world would you start a business during a pandemic? But for you guys, it was probably very similar because, of course, in 2008, 2009, we're going through the Great Recession. So I would assume that some of the challenges that you faced with the economy when you were trying to get launched are probably similar to some new business owners who are trying to launch new businesses now. So talk a little bit about that and those challenges and how you overcame them. And then maybe what advice would you have for new business owners who are trying to start a business now in the climate that we're seeing now in the face of the pandemic?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think there's always going to be something, right? I mean, you can never count on things being perfect. That's for sure. And I don't think it matters what the actual worldwide event is. What's important to look at is behaviors of people. And starting an online business this year probably would have been a really good idea. I mean, if you were tapped into social media, you knew how to launch a website with some kind of offering. I mean, there's a lot of coaches out there right now. I think it would have been, I think about the people that launched this last year, and I think, you just have to be really tech savvy. And it's about having a program, right? When we launched in 2008, even though we're launching this fantastic new technology, I mean, really that industry had really only been alive for about 3 years at that point, and as a trade. And so it was a very, not a socialized conversation other than people kind of going, is it like Times Square? I don't want it to move and be too flashy, right? You know, and we're like, it's not outdoor signage, firstly. It's indoor signage, except for like behind us. This is outdoor signage. But these are not LEDs. These are not flashing things that are, you know, going to blind you like a lot of cheap imitation kind of things have been put out there, right? And municipalities and counties and everybody's got a rule around what's allowed in a space. So there are a lot of things nuances to know about that. But kind of going back to your question about, you know, how do you overcome some of those obstacles? I really do have to believe that when you're in business for yourself, you have to be able to really just pay attention. You have to have enough time away from the racket to really, like, just when a customer's just talking, write down the random notes that they're saying and then look at it afterwards. And then you got to read between the lines. What are they really telling you? Because they don't even know. And I think you really have to look for those gaps. You have to look for the opportunity in that space. And then maybe it even tells you that that's not the industry to really even be looking at. Then you kind of go, well, what is everybody talking about right now? Well, what everybody's talking about this last year, drive-thrus. Drive-thrus are huge. There isn't a store or a restaurant or a coffee shop that hasn't had to convert to some kind of digital communication, whether it's screens and a mobile device and an app and a, you know, whatever it is, you know, a new phone tree to queue people to do drive-up curb orders or, you know, order through the kiosk or, you know, just adding on things. But drive-thrus are growing at a rapid rate. And that is not going to change going forward because people have gotten used to some of that touchless non-interactive and interactive, new interactive way of going about business.
So besides signage and custom content, do you guys have any other things that you guys do to get the word out there or to help people spread the word for their businesses as well? I mean, I noticed you guys have SMS campaigns, things like that. Are there any other things that you guys do to help your clients get?
Gotcha. So a really good example of that is actually philanthropy. So inside of a hospital, we work with many different customers. We work with food services to do cafeteria menus. We work with the coffee shop to do cafe menus. We work with facilities to do general kinds of signage or transportation driven communications, which, you know, could be real-time driven bus information, Uber information, shuttles. Any kind of transportation can be created in such a way that it literally tells you the exact time they'll be at this doorway as opposed to the doorway over on the other side of the hospital. We also work with philanthropy, doing donor walls and donor recognition. Those can be video walls, like all digital, or they could be digital integration into a traditional donor wall. Mm-hmm. So integrating into, you know, somebody else's beautiful design of a video wall, we will collaborate with an architect or whoever's doing that design project if we're brought in at that level, or we can take on the whole thing ourselves. So when we work with those different kinds of, you know, clients, that's really where some of those campaigns come in, especially on the philanthropy level. So they can drive it with, you know, a text code. They can drive to a certain keyword. I just let them know I love to collaborate. I will observe things. And then if it's something you're interested in, we can talk about it more. If you don't want to, I'm not offended. So, but I do think that is one of the services that we kind of offer. That's just, again, it's kind of an intangible. There's no line item that we charge for on that. I really like to show that, you know, again, an integrator is a value add proposition. So that's our whole goal, is to be a value add and not just selling digital signage, but we're selling in an experience. Mm. And if it can be related to an experience that an employee, a patient, a visitor, whoever is going to have, that's really what you need to envision, because that's what's going to help you figure out what content goes on that screen. and who's it facing, and how are they going to be affected by that?
It's really interesting because you said ROI, and so my ears popped up. You said intangible. So intangible ROI, interesting.
Yeah.
But then you followed it up. It's like, yeah, okay, I get it. But I doubt anybody in any department says, we need to have this type of digital experience so that we can increase our satisfaction surveys of our employees. Right. And what I'm hearing you say is, I'm studying human behavior, and anybody that's going to look at that sign, which includes employees, which includes patients, which includes, anybody else going through that lobby, how can we benefit them? And so it's like a combined experience. And, when I first saw this, I thought, wow, this is really cool. It's colorful, it's powerful. But it's really the full experience and that's the value that you would bring as opposed to somebody who's just selling the sign.
Right. Yes.
Interesting.
Yeah.
That's really good. That is so cool.
You're
That's
hired.
awesome.
No.
I want one.
No, we want him for the show.
No.
I don't know if you're out.
Weekends. No.
No, believe me, I've got a couple takeaways so we're going to take back and talk about.
Your business is so interesting, and obviously the relationship is, it's great to see collaborators and being able to, I don't using the word overcome, but to be able to overcome, whatever history you guys had to say, look, this is a business we want to get in. So I'm excited to hear more about your vision and more about the things that you're working on. I'm excited to bring Mark and Joe back into the fold and talk more about their future and life after COVID.
Yes.
But before we get there, Ben, you look thirsty.
I am thirsty.
I knew it.
Business Over Beer reminds you to always drink responsibly. Our theme song is Idiocracy by Christian Leo. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time on Business Over Beer, a TH3 Entertainment production.